is up, everyone, and welcome to That Game Rules, a subpar retro podcast where every week we break down an old video game and maybe have a little fun while we're at it. I'm your host, Scuba Steve. Thank you for listening, and today we're talking about the OG Super Smash Brothers. Forget about Avengers Infinity War. This game was the crossover of a lifetime. A game designed around the idea of kids just picking up their dolls and smashing them together, and that's exactly how this game plays. It's fun, it's addicting, it was couch co-op at its finest, and we'll rip apart this game, but let's break down this show first, see what we're doing today. Every week here, we go back in time, we're talking old movies, old TV shows, old toys, then we'll get into the game vitals, the characters, the box art, the music, the levels, the items. We'll check out some comments and reviews and a whole bunch of other stuff. Finally, we'll give Smash 64 some awards and determine if that game rules, if it's a rental, or if it should be retired to the gaming gods. If you want to be a part of the show, or you want to just chat about games, hit me up at thatgamerules@gmail.com and check me out everywhere else on the web. All your usual shameless self-promotion, Facebook. I'm over there. I'm just making reels, making gameplay videos, having some fun over there. But before we dig into 1999 itself, what have I been up to? I've been mixing up my retro gaming and with some modern stuff. Had to dust off the old PS5 because in my house, it's the PlayStation. It's the new modern stuff that's collecting dust on the shelves over there. But I've been playing some Red Dead Redemption 2 on the new TV there. I've avoided that game for a while because I was afraid I would play it and get addicted to it, and that's exactly what happened. So I'm a cowboy now. I named my horse Epona, and I'm just going to go ride off into the sunset as soon as the show's over. Specific gaming memories of 64. Listen, after so many hours on this game, thousands, it's got to be. In 1999, my friends and I, we were all 15, 16, 17. Still no phones and internet. I mean, it was kind of around, but it was trash back then. I guess it's more trash now as far as the internet. But just countless nights between Smash Brothers, Mario Party, Mario Kart, GoldenEye, Conker's Bad Fur Day. Yes, the multiplayer on Conkers was legit back then. There was never an empty controller. Everyone was waiting for their spot to play. We were all just piled together on the couch or the floor, just ripping each other the whole time, smacking controllers out of people's hands, staying awake till the sun comes up. It's just sadly we can never go back to that couch co-op. It's pretty much over, except for your family. If you've got some young kids or something, keep the couch co-op alive there. I have tons of memories of playing with my kids, like the multiplayer games, your Mario Karts, your Mario Parties. Keep that thing going. You can still get some couch co-op. But speaking of 1999, let's take a time warp, set the scene, see what else was happening at the eve of the new millennium. So let's make a tree and get out of here.
Have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Welcome back to 1999, the eve of the new millennium, and we've got a special sponsor today. Nothing screams the 90s to me like a nice trip up to the old family video store.
They say it's a jungle out there. I say, whoop, you got kids? It's a jungle in here. So I bring home a stack of these when things get a little wild. Movies! You want to tame the savage beast? Make it a blockbuster night.
Make it a blockbuster night. Plenty of blockbuster nights back then. Founded in 1985. Finally closed down in 2013. Except for that one. Maybe if it's still around, they have one iconic location, I think in Oregon. I think it might even be an Airbnb now type of situation. But at its peak, over 9,000 stores, over 84,000 employees. They were rocking the old McDonald's method back then. Bright stores, clean, family-friendly. None of your adult films, none of the old curtain, the beaded rooms in the back you had to go sneak into at some of the local family-owned video stores. It famously declined to buy Netflix for $50 million in 2000. So $50 million, they could have bought Netflix. Netflix today, as of this recording, is worth over $413 billion. So, again, a little kick in the teeth for you there. But we'll keep moving on. Besides their famous "Make It a Blockbuster Night" slogan, also "Be Kind, Rewind" slapped over all those video cassettes back then. But if Netflix was as huge as it was now, back in 1999 with streaming and stuff, they might have been freaking out just like everybody else was about old Y2K. And if you don't know and you think I'm just saying the year 2000, when I say Y2K, I'm actually talking about that weird, stupid scare everybody was having back in the late 90s. It was a global panic over potential computer failures at the turn of the millennium. The thing was, the computers had such little memory back then that they would put in the years on the computers with 2 digits instead of 4. So once we started getting into like 96, 97, 98, the concern was that the 2-digit year, that when it hit the year 2000, that the computers would think that it was the year 1900. And so public panic caused people to stockpile food and water, buy in generators, probably built some of those sweet underground bunkers some of those preppers are doing out there. But yeah, so the fear included banks would erase all your info. It's just gone. We're in 1900 now. The massive power grid failures, because the date nobody knows the date. And then the planes falling from the sky, and your mom's 1988 Pontiac 6000 would convert back to a horse, and then your cat would die from dysentery. And obviously all of those things happened, and this is just a simulation we're living in, like The Matrix. But speaking of The Matrix, let's talk about some movies from 1999. Like I said, The Matrix blew my mind back then. Me and my friends saw that in the theater. And it begs, it seems like simulation theory could be the answer to all of life's difficult questions. Aliens, ghosts, deja vu, Mandela effect. It's all just glitches in the Matrix, just glitches in our simulation. But it could answer like real hard impacting life questions like what really is the speed of light and how does Steven Seagal have a career? So it's like simulation theory could answer all of those questions. But also 1999, Phantom Menace. Thank you to Disney and their sequels for being bad and making everybody go back and appreciate the prequels. Because, the prequels got so much hate back then. But this new generation, all these kids, that's their Star Wars. That's what they grew up with. So I appreciate that. My kids actually are growing up with like the Disney sequels. Like I've said before, they know all those storylines of like Rey and Kylo and all these other characters that I just forget about in my head when I'm thinking Star Wars. Also, we've got Wild Wild West. Speaking of The Matrix there, that's a guilty pleasure movie for me. It's dumb, but if it's on, I'm doing laundry or something while that movie is playing. But that, incidentally, Will Smith chose to do Wild Wild West. He turned down the role of Neo in The Matrix to go do Wild Wild West, which I think he said was like one of his biggest regrets, but at the same time, after seeing it, knowing Keanu Reeves was the right part for that role. Also, shout out to Galaxy Quest, the best Star Trek movie ever made that isn't a Star Trek movie. Stuart Little out there as well, and the worst movie, Baby Geniuses, baby. 2.6 on IMDb. It has a 2% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it made it on Roger Ebert's most hated movie list. I think Baby Geniuses 2 is even worse. Super Babies or something like that. But that movie, starring Kathleen Turner and Christopher Lloyd in Baby Geniuses, not the first time they'd be together, because they both starred in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Of course, Christopher Lloyd being the villain, and Kathleen Turner was the voice of Jessica Rabbit. That scene, Christopher Lloyd played a good villain. When he's putting that little shoe into the dip, it still hits my feels today. Moving on, we'll talk TV shows. For you younger kids, we've got Dragon Tales, Sabooma Fu, The PJs, all quality shows there. But I was a teenager in 1999, and we had some bangers coming out. So for the teens, we had Futurama.
You want died like last men visit Amazonia?
What'd they die of?
Crushed pelvises.
Yes!
Oh, thank you, Lord in heaven. After lengthy femputations, I, Femputer, have decided the fate of the men. Femputer sentences them to death! By Snoo Snoo!
Yeah!
Also coming hard into like the Cartoon Network scene, we had Ed, Ed, and Eddie. But also another banger in '99 was South Park. Just a huge show for me right at that age, right up there with like Mortal Kombat. Anything that was offending parents, making news stories for that, you're only getting kids to watch it more. You're only bringing more attention to these things. Besides, South Park is just a good show in general. Somewhere out on the internet is a South Park fan page me and my buddy Paul made. It looks like Homer's webpage from that episode of The Simpsons. But it might even be literally an AOL page, one of those AOL.com / you could make like your own pages back then. We had an old South Park fan page, but I love South Park as well.
This doesn't seem to be the right way. My ninja sense is telling me we might be heading in the wrong direction.
Okay, hang on, guys. I'll use my special power to see into the future and find out where we should head next.
Hold on, you guys. I actually have another power. I can see into the future too, but better than Cap. Let me try.
God damn it, Carmen, you can't keep making up powers.
Yeah, dude, that's like the 5th power you've come up with. I am Blue-Rug, and I have lots and lots of powers.
Lots and lots of powers. We're going to check out some toys in the old Sears Wish book. We got Connects, you're always trying to bring Lego down. But if you know anything about Lego nowadays, that stuff is like gold. People stock those things because I think they're guaranteed to go up in value more than even like the US dollar. We had Darth Maul's Double Saber, of course. That part of the trailer, you know, I wasn't as huge a Star Wars nerd, I think, even back for the prequels, but even that, you all remember from the trailer, you got Darth Maul already looking BA, and then you got the lightsaber on the one end, and it freaking shoots out the other end, just boom. And then 1999, Pokemon, just Pokemon everywhere you could think of.
Now, my good man, what do you like to play?
Pokemon!
Pokemon? Pokemon with the pokey and the man in the thing where the guy comes out into the thing and he makes the fall.
What is up with scalpers and the Pokemon stuff? Like, I always come across these videos of these guys taking like all these boxes, these scalpers to resell all this Pokemon stuff. There's these like Pokemon vending machines that these guys are camping out at. And so screw all you guys. I know it's whatever, make your money with your, it just annoys me. And it annoys me when it's like a kid thing like that. When there's just a kid that wants to play with something, but us grown men, kids, are like taking all these cards or toys from these kids. That just kind of sucks, but I guess that's how it's going to keep going in the old Pokemon world there. Oh, look at these video games. The console wars have evolved. We are talking 60. You all know, a 64 and PlayStation 1. Now we're out on, the playgrounds are over for us teenagers, but we're punching each other, telling each other if the 64 or the PS1 is better. I mean, actually, even back then, I don't even think we were just, hey, we gonna go play your PlayStation? Come play my 64. Like when we say console wars, it's nothing like the freaking people online nowadays with the Xbox and the PlayStation, and Nintendo's your little Tykes kitty toy and all this like real mean stuff. And it's like back then it was a quote unquote war, but it was just us kids wanting to play video games. We didn't really care where it was. That's why all these crappy games have people like me doing podcasts about it. Not Smash Brothers, but old weird random NES games, is because those are the ones that we just had. We didn't know. There was no basis to be like, there's the good game up there. We had the 3 games you got. You got one on your birthday. You got one on Christmas. So we just had those in our house and we just played them and we liked them because it was different from our normal life. But anyway, console wars. Here we go. Nintendo. You've got Donkey Kong 64, Mario Party 2, Pokemon Snap, Harvest Moon 64, and everyone's favorite Superman: The New Adventures. Top tier game there. Over on Sony's side, we got Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Final Fantasy VIII, Resident Evil 3, as long as some newcomers there as well, Silent Hill, Siphon Filter, and shout out to Pac-Man World. I used to play that game back then. Somewhere in a dark corner, Sega released the Dreamcast. We'll talk about that someday. I had a Dreamcast. I had that weird game with a microphone. I think it was called, even might have been called Seamen. And it was like you talk to these human-faced fish creatures Let me know if you ever heard of that game. It could just be a weird fever dream of mine. But also Dreamcast, yeah, we used to play Blitz on it, and they had a little memory card, but then we could see what plays we were picking on the controller because it had the little screen on their memory cards. Interesting, but just never really took off. But speaking back to Pac-Man there, he isn't in Smash, at least not on this one. But you know who else isn't? The Simpsons. Like, I just had a random thought of this. Can you imagine, like, the Simpsons arcade characters in Smash? I mean, that'll never happen. But you could have, like, Bart and Lisa together, like the Ice Climbers. Man, Marge out there whacking her vacuum around on people. Anyways, let's check out this box art.
Now, I know you love video games, and I asked the clerk which is the one every boy wants. You got me. Oh, yeah.
All right, checking out this box art here. The character art featured on the box looks good. It's very comic booky, featuring hand-drawn characters before going with game models in future sequels. Manuals looking good as well. We're going to reference that later when we dig into these stages and levels. But let's take a look at some history on this game, featuring some of my favorite Nintendo developers with names I can't pronounce properly. Not for lack of trying, people. I can't even speak the language I know very much good at all. So a brief history. Super Smash Bros. Is a one-of-a-kind fighting game published by Nintendo for the Nintendo 64. This game came out at a perfect time on that system. The superstars were aligned. It's the first game in the Super Smash Bros. Series and would ignite a passionate fandom for decades to come. The game is, of course, a crossover between different beloved Nintendo franchises, including Mario, Legend of Zelda, Star Fox, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, Metroid, F-Zero, Earthbound, or Mother, Kirby, and Pokemon. It presents a cast of characters and locations from these franchises and allows players to use each character's unique skills and the stage's hazards to inflict damage, recover health, and ultimately knock opponents off the stage. Just a whole different concept of this smashing up fighting game. It's a good name for it, just Smash. It's very accurate to how this game feels. Very easy to learn, difficult to master, like another new take on like a classic genre. How do they come up with a game like this? How does Nintendo keep doing that? Like, you don't know. They throw these games out there. You've got all this IP in here, so I'm assuming they think it's going to sell well. I doubt they thought that it would be the phenomenon it even is today as far as the community and the tournaments and the mods and just all these things that come along with it. Development-wise, Super Smash Bros. Was developed by HAL Laboratory, a Nintendo second-party developer. You recognize that logo when you fire this thing up. They had a lot to do in some of these other Nintendo games as well. It began life as a prototype created by Masahiro Sakurai and Satoru Iwata. In their spare time, it was titled Dragon King the Fighting Game. Originally featured no Nintendo characters, it was just a demo. Super generic, human-shaped polygon fighters. Still had kind of the four-player thing. They still had kind of the bones as far as knocking people off of a stage as opposed to taking their health down. It's their health goes up, and then the higher the percentage, obviously, the farther they're going to fly back. The game itself, like I said, because of the polygon human figures, they nicknamed it Pepsi Man because it reminded them of Pepsi Man. If you know Pepsi Man, some of us over here in the States and over in North America, we know, but apparently it's real big over there in Japan. It was like the official mascot was this Pepsi Man back then. Spawned tons of his own games and a cult following as well. Go play some of them Pepsi Man games out there. However, Iwata hit on the idea of including fighters from different Nintendo franchises in order to provide atmosphere, which he felt was necessary for a home console fighting game. I couldn't imagine this without Nintendo characters, I guess, but I mean, that's the thing about fighting games is you have to give these characters these almost these silhouettes. You need to have some imposing, different kind of, they can't all just be this generic human shape. That's why when you look at games, or at least fighting games I like, I'm thinking like Killer Instinct. I'm thinking even like Clay Fighter. There's just these iconic fighters I can think of. When I think of Killer Instinct, I don't know names. I think of like the skeleton guy. For some reason, when I think of Clay Fighter, I think of that fat opera singing lady. And if they make these characters enough to stick in your head, years and decades later, then they did their job well. in his case, like, who wouldn't want working for Nintendo, like, an all-access pass to their IP to put these characters into these games? The only issue there was apparently Pokemon was kind of hard to get.
Now, my good man, what do you like to play?
Pokemon!
Pokemon? Pokemon with the pokey and the man in the thing where the guy comes out into the thing and he makes the fall.
I'm sorry, that whole clip for decades, that Simpsons clip has lived in my head rent-free. And it probably isn't the last time you're going to hear it either. Nintendo and Pokemon were tight, but don't get confused. Nintendo doesn't strictly own Pokemon. They have their own image they're worried about, and I guess they just didn't want their characters literally smacking and punching each other. So I guess it's okay to throw lightning, but they were worried about actual physical beating of these characters together. But obviously they got him in there. Knowing that he would not get permission if he asked ahead of time, Sakurai made a prototype of the game in September of 97 without informing Nintendo, and did not show anyone until it was well balanced. So he took these characters, really smart on him. He knew if he just went up and asked for characters, they'd say no. And I have it in my notes later, but even Miyamoto was not very thrilled with this game right off the bat either. It kind of had to grow on him. So he made this demo, taking actual Nintendo characters, and even to the point where he got it to play well. He did all this kind of adjusting and balancing on his demo, so it was like super tight when he finally showed it off. The prototype he presented featured Mario, Donkey Kong, Samus, and Fox as playable characters, and it was shown to Nintendo at the end of 97, and the idea was later approved. And like I said, Shigeru didn't really like the idea, but that's was smart enough to give him the demo and be like, look, play it for 5 minutes, and I'm pretty sure everybody was enjoying it. For the title itself, Super Smash Brothers, Iwata suggested the use of brothers, as far, it's shortened down to bros in this game, but his reasoning was that even though the characters weren't brothers at all, using the word added the nuance that they weren't simply fighting, they were friends who were settling a little disagreement. So we had to cuten it up just a little bit. And of course, you got to be all Nintendo lovey-dovey about it. But can you imagine some like MK fatalities in this game? Like, why do I feel like Jigglypuffs would be like the most gruesome? He plays like his singing song and your Mario's head just explodes. There's definitely some regional differences as well between Japan and over here. The Japan's version had some different sounds featuring like real punching and kicking noises as is compared to ours over here with the slapstick Batman kind of sound effects. But I'm like, that's Smash Brothers to me, those dinks and doinks and all those kind of noises. That's like part of it. Like, now I don't want them to take that away and give me real sounds. I'd rather have the cartoony stuff. Also, the game was released at different times. Therefore, there are plenty of different versions of the game, depending on when they would fix tweaks and these kind of things, which back then on a cart game like this with no future DLC even possible, to make a game balanced, a fighting game balanced, especially like this when all the moves are the same, or at least your button configuration. I can't even imagine when they got like 80 characters down the road here, the balancing that takes. It's got to be insane. Also, the game itself was being developed originally for the Super Nintendo with the use of that Super FX chip, but like a lot of games back then, moved on to the 64 for tech reasons, and good thing they did, because you get those 4 controller ports everybody loves so much. And again, like the stars aligning there, how perfect of you at that time, late 90s, to have that four controllers. It's what PlayStation was hurting at. I mean, yeah, they had the cool games. They had the good horror games. They had the good one-player games. And it's something Sony has just went full steam on ahead for years now. They got the best one-player games, and you look at even Nintendo now, and I'm still feeling like they've got the best multiplayer games. So it was, and back then you saw like they'd have to sell Sony PlayStation separately, those like ports that would then hook you up with the 4 controllers, as opposed to Nintendo putting it right in their system. So good job, Nintendo. We'll keep moving, talk a little bit about the gameplay-wise itself before we get into the actual game chat. Unlike traditional fighting games, Super Smash Bros. Does not involve damaging opponents until they have no health left. Players instead begin at 0% damage, and the percentage rises as they take damage accordingly. The more a player is damaged, the farther they are launched. When knocked off the stage, a character may use jumping moves in an attempt to return. Some characters have like the longer range jumps and may not have an easier time recovering than others, but that triple jump is like pretty clutch in this game. As far as most characters, your triple jump is doing like an attack at the same time, as far as like getting back up to that edge. While games such as Street Fighter and Tekken required players to memorize complicated button input combinations, Smash Bros. Uses the same control combos to access all moves for all characters, and that just made everybody want to try every character. When you're just doing down B, up B, those kind of things, you can try every character, try out all their moves, and see how you like each one compared to every other one, because that's why like the game was so even, because we had girls in our friend group as well. Other girls, not just my sister. I knew other girls back then. And so it's easy for them to pick up and play too, even though us guys always smoked them. But while, like I was saying with the other fighting games there that I never played, like Smash Brothers, I don't know, there's something about it. It seems like on regular fighting games, it's very math-like. It's very perfection of perfecting these combos and these button combinations, memorizing these things on top of memorizing your opponent's moves to block and things like that. It's just so much more professional than when you go into Smash Brothers. You've got stupid items, you've got random chaos, and there's something about that chaos that it's like I said, I never know at the end of the day who won, how many games did you win, how many did you lose. We weren't keeping track of that, but we knew, hey, remember that one match where all that crazy stuff happened and we were both at 400%, and then so it's like those kind of things are your memories. It's never who wins or loses. Same with Mario Party, Mario Kart even. It's always just the excitement, the fun things that happen. You never remember track records of winning and losing. Anyway. But this is where like the game shines itself in that chaos. Leave it up to Nintendo to just keep reinventing the wheel. It's the simple controls that allow this game later to have, what did I say earlier, 800 characters? That's what it feels like. So again, no moves to memorize. You can play the same move on any character. And it just makes a good game easy to pick up. And we'll finish it off here because then there's the music. Smash Brothers features music from some of Nintendo's most popular gaming franchises, and they slap harder than DK. Like his physical slap, not his music. Nothing slaps harder than DK's music. While many are newly arranged for the game, some pieces are taken directly from their sources. The music was composed by Hirokazu Ando, who later returned as sound and music director for Melee as well. And with that, we'll hear some great music. We'll check out some fighters, some stages, some trivia, and a whole bunch more nonsense. Yeah, if you give me a chance to play some music from Donkey Kong Country, I'm gonna play some music from Donkey Kong Country. But let's get into the game chat here. Let's get into this roster of characters and their associated levels. No real story here, although I do love the concept of a kid just playing with his dolls. Action figures. The intro movie's awesome. This like the bedroom morphing into like a Peach's castle stage. It just like represents childhood imagination in general. That the concept of this game is even the way like the kid like he moves the things on the desk, and the way that like the boss of the game is the master hands itself, like you with the hands. So I think it's just a really cool concept. The fighting intros are great as well, and I love the unlockable character tees with their silhouettes that fill in when you unlock them as part of the cinematic. So as you unlock them, you can see these characters. You can try to guess what the character is based on the silhouette. But let's get into it. We'll take some pit stops to talk about this game's culture and legacy as well as we go. Starting with the tagline, "Something's gone wrong in the happy-go-lucky world of Nintendo." So choosing your fighter here Per the character selection screen, the fighters do appear in chronological order based on the year their respective game was released. A little Easter egg there, if you go across the top, starting with Mario, ending with Pokemon, I think. But starting with the main man himself, Mario, the internationally famous mustachioed superstar, Mario's distinct jumping action is the key to his success. He has average speed and weight, but is skilled with jumping and attacking, coming at you with moves like the Fireball, the Super Jump Punch, and the Mario Tornado. This plumber is sure to get the job done. Mario is one of my boys, man. He can lock you down pretty hard. And like with most of these guys that do a lot of like the locking down, it's never like the special moves, the B moves. It's always the A moves. It's the kicks and the spins and the tornado twirly kind of things. Same with like Link. It's the chucking them up into the air. A lot of like juggling with your characters. If you can juggle them, hit them again, juggle them. It's a lot of that kind of locking them down, like I said. Mario's stage is Peach's Castle. Lots of Mario 64 love here. Peach's Castle consists of a large platform. You got a moving platform kind of shifting around on the bottom, and some bumpers in there as well. It's also Luigi's unlock match takes place there. So you fight Luigi there when you unlock him. That's a cool level. Not a lot of land in that level. A lot of more obstacles, a lot more jumping around in the air and stuff. We can't talk about this game without talking about the amazing commercial everyone remembers. 4 costume mascot characters jumping through a sunny field of flowers, holding hands. Then the carnage ensued. And then they just kept the chaos coming with the game's release. If you haven't seen the commercial, go check it out. I'll pause real quick. Are you back? All right. I'm not playing any clips from that. It's just the song playing, and then YouTube will probably flag me for it. But it's a cool video to promote the game's launch itself. This is neat, too. Nintendo of America staged an event called Slamfest 99 in Las Vegas. The event featured a real-life wrestling match between the costume performers dressed as Mario, Yoshi, Pikachu, and Donkey Kong, as well as stations set up for attendees to preview the game, probably some little kiosks to play some Smash at. The costumes themselves were reused from the game's television commercial, which featured the 4 mascot costumes fighting each other set to the song Happy Together. The wrestling match itself was live streamed on the web. There was still a web back then. And was available to be rewatched for several months afterward via a downloadable file from the event's official website. Despite this, no video footage of Slamfest 99 is known to survive, and the broadcast is currently considered lost media.
You son of a bitch!
I didn't research that super hard, but I mean it seemed to be the case on a lot of places I was looking at, and that kind of sucks. I hate it when anything like that gets lost. So shout out to anyone. I know people I have old VHSs here at my mom's house as well. Like people go through those, they find these old commercials, because back then we were recording VHSs off like TV shows, so we could rewatch them. Old pirating there. So you find all these old commercials that there's literally no way else to ever find these things, or shows, cartoons, all these things. They just exist on a VHS that's probably getting moldy in someone's basement somewhere. But let's keep talking characters. Let's move on to Donkey Kong. Mario's former enemy, current party friend, kart racer, golf partner, tennis partner, all of those. This mighty ape is bestowed with tremendous power and overwhelming attacks. He is one of the strongest and heaviest fighters, strong enough to pick up a fighter and carry them a short distance, or just carry them right off a cliff if that's your thing as well. Watch out for his hand slap, spinning Kong, or that damn giant punch. That thing will knock you the flip out. DK's level is the amazing Donkey Kong Country themed Congo Jungle. We're jamming out Donkey Kong Country style with palm trees. We got moving barrels, even those annoying buzzard bird neckies making cameos in the background. And of course, great music, great looking sunset back there. But speaking of annoying birds...
Hey, listen!
Not you, Navi. I'm talking about the owl from Ocarina. But speaking of him, we've got Link stepping into the ring. Our hero is the young fighter who protects the peace in the realm of Hyrule. His skills with the sword are both varied and powerful. He's an average fighter like Mario, though most of his attacks involve the use of his swords or projectiles. Projectiles like the boomerang and the bomb. You got the spin attack with the sword, and even my favorite weapon, the hook shot, makes an appearance so you can grab your opponent, chuck him off a cliff. The sword is where it's at with Link. His boomerang and bomb don't get a lot of action when I'm swinging the Master Sword around out there, like General Grievous or something. Another character I like to main. And again, yeah, not a lot of bombs, not a lot of boomerangs. It's a lot of sword play. It's a lot of chucking them in the air. It's a lot of downward thrust sword and a lot of, jumping in the air. A lot of that jumping off the cliff, swiping the sword out. And of course, Link's stage is the superior castle of the game, Hyrule Castle. It's a long stage, plenty of room to divide up into some of those like one-on-one matches. It's where on like the bigger levels, you get, 2 people on one end, 2 people on the other, fighting your own little personal battles there. The only hazard here, the tornado spawning every 30 seconds to wreak some havoc on the players. But let's check out some of the mist fighters here. They all make it in eventually, but you got Bowser, Mewtwo, Marth, and King Dedede. Were all planned as playable characters for this game, but they were cut. Side note, how about those like Smash Fighter reveal events? Like those huge cons and gaming shows, like they were getting more hype than like Iron Man snapping in Endgame as far as these crowds cheering, literal tears running down people's faces, all things I like to see, passionate gamers. I remember the Sora reveal. People were going nuts over that. I mean, I'm not big into Kingdom Hearts myself, but again, I like seeing that stuff. I remember the Final Fantasy stuff, like the Sephiroth reveal, the Banjo-Kazooie reveal. I know like Minecraft Steve is pretty meh. I never got my Dixie Kong. That's where my heart goes. I want a Dixie Kong in Smash, and I want a Geno in Smash. And my luck, they'll throw Malo in there. Another character that was considered for Smash Melee in particular was James Bond himself, like GoldenEye. How crazy would that be? Just sniping Jigglypuff in his dumb face, or like turn on like all slaps mode. Everyone's just running around karate chop in the air. That sounds legit. It's weird, of all things, they have the motion sensor bomb in this game as an item, and that feels very Golden-like. Also, Final Smashes almost made it into this game, your finishing moves there. And another bit of trivia here, an inspiration for the game itself came from an experience Sakori had at a local arcade where he was apparently kicking ass on King of Fighters 95 and feeling pretty good about himself, only to look over and realize he was playing against like a beginner. And I joke around that it was some like 8-year-old girl, but 8-year-old girls be kicking my ass online, so that's why I'm scared to play online, and I just play retro games. But this inspired Sakori to design a game that would be fun regardless of skill level. And I'd say mission accomplished. And like I've said before, if it's the chaos that adds to that, it works for me. Like it's so much fun in that. Next up is the only female character in the game, Samus Aran. Move over, Boba Fett, because Samus Aran might just be the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy. She fights with the superhuman power of her high-tech suit and general badassery. Samus is a slow but powerful fighter. She has a grapple beam that she can use to grab other fighters, and she can charge up her charge shot for a stronger attack. Also featuring an annoying bomb and a screw attack that can lock you down hard as well. Speaking from experience, I must have fought against Samus thousands of times. That was one of my buddy's mains. Samus and Fox were, I feel like, the ones I was fighting against the most. Traveling to Planet Zebes, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Metroid planet. A small stage where the hazard is damaging acid that rises every 30 seconds. The unlock match against Captain Falcon occurs here, as there are no F-Zero stages, although the F-Zero stage in Melee might be like my favorite stage. Also some more Super Metroid Easter eggs going on in this level. I love a good level mechanic like this, like the lava, forcing the fight onto the platforms above. But speaking of Easter eggs, next up is everyone's favorite dinosaur buddy, Yoshi. A cute dinosaur that lives on a tropical island. You'd be surprised what he can do with a simple egg. Giggity? I don't know, you tell me, it's from the manual. Yoshi is a fast and middleweight fighter. He uniquely uses a Yoshi egg for shielding. He also lacks a third jump but is unaffected by knockbacks during his second jump, unlike other fighters. So I didn't know that specifically. I know Yoshi just has the one double jump, but I didn't know that by making up for that, they make him like immune to knockback during the jump. I also like how they do fun things like his shield is a Yoshi egg. And that doesn't even have to be there. It doesn't make his shield any different than everyone else's, but it's just they pull all those things if they can. If it's something they can use unique to that character, they're going to do it. He resides on his level, Yoshi's Island, with moves like Egg Lay and Egg Throw. And Yoshi's Island is a stage that's kind of slightly sloped on either side, corresponding to like the storybook theme of Yoshi's story itself. There are clouds on the side of the stage that disappear if stood on too long. That always makes a fun mechanic. And you got Goonies and Flying Shy Guys appear in the background sometimes. Just more Nintendo retro love happen there. And what a good time. We'll stop and talk about some items, because where else can Mario wield a lightsaber or Link can use a fire flower? Let's look at these classics. As far as items themselves, we've got the items. You've got a couple of carriers, though. Things that the items will be in, but also work as items themselves, because you can pick them up and chuck them at people. And there's some of them, might be a bomb in there if you just try breaking it. A lot of fun surprises there. But the items themselves, we mentioned it before. We got the motion sensor bomb there, very GoldenEye-like. You stick it there, forget about it, run back to it, blow yourself up. You've got the bumper. That's just kind of like a Sonic Casino level looking thing. You'll bounce off of that guy. A couple of basic ones. Your bomb's going to do what you think. Your fire flower. You got the ray gun. Really cool one is the Pokeball, because you get a couple of different Pokemons appearing in there. Some a lot better, some a lot worse. But like I said, I like surprises. We've also got the Star Rod and the fan, kind of some weird ones there. Your Star Rod from Kirby. Your fan's kind of from nowhere, but it's there, I guess. Your home run bat, making me think of Ness there, because he's got one of those as well. The hammer, your old DK hammer, is pretty much like the same as like a superstar, as far as just doing damage. And then you got your beam sword, your obvious lightsaber rip-off there. Actually, that was one of the Japan noises too. One of the Japan sound effects for the beam sword was very much more Star Wars-like. They toned that down over here, but I think in recent more games, they've really gone with that lightsaber noise on the beam sword. We got a couple other things here. You got some special items, like I said, the star, and you got the green and the red shell. The differences being there, the green shell, when attacked or thrown, this shell slides around the battle stage, damaging whoever it hits. But the red shell is basically the same, except it bounces back and forth in the same area of the stage. So your green shell will keep going, your red shell stops at the ledge and then stays there as kind of a hazard for a while. And then you got some recovery items, the Maxim Tomato and the Heart Container. The Maxim Tomato recovering up to 100%, while the Heart Container will take you all the way back down to 0. So those are the items in game. Good stuff. They're going to get a lot more down the road, a lot more as they get into their new games there. Let's keep it going here. We're talking Kirby, an 8-inch high creature from a distant star. That's right. I didn't know. This is from, that's a manual description. So Kirby is 8 inches big. He's a grower, not a shower. He may look harmless, but using his copy ability, Kirby becomes a formidable opponent. He is light and fast. His distinct ability is being able to swallow other figures and copy their abilities, Shang Tsung style. He can also float around like a dainty little butterfly. Other classic moves include the Final Cutter and Stone. But how about that copy ability? Just adding a whole new roster of moves for Kirby. So he gets everybody's basic or everybody's B special move when he swallows people. And that's cool. Again, you've got this variation of all these characters. But the thing about Kirby is his copy ability. So throwing that into a game like this, and again, we've seen it done with Mortal Kombat and stuff before. But Kirby's got a simple yet beautiful level, Dreamland, a flat stage where the main obstacle is Wispy Woods himself, who sometimes blows wind at the fighters. The unlock match against Ness takes place here, as there's no Earthbound stages. Unfortunately, what would a good Earthbound level be? There's probably Earthbound levels in the future games. I played the heck out of 64. I played a lot of Melee, and that was pretty much it as far as my Smash Brothers history. But I would think they'd be like either the town of Onet or like a creepy Gygus level, where like you're in the fleshy weirdness of that. Fight would probably stop randomly for the fuzzy pickle guy at some point too. Anyways, let's talk everyone's favorite single-tailed fox, Fox McCloud. Following in his father's footsteps, Fox is the young leader of the Star Fox team. With his trusted blaster, he plunges headfirst into battle. Fox is fast and heavy, but has average strength. His blaster can stun opponents, and his reflector can reflect projectiles. Don't forget about that reflector. See, we're sending a little more, difference with these characters. It's not just the shield. Star Fox can reflect things back to you, and that's burned me plenty of times. No barrel rolls here. Fox's arsenal includes the blaster shot, Firefox, and the reflector. Fox, like I said, he was definitely a worthy opponent, and his triple jump is legit. If you perfect that as far as fighting against the triple jump, that one always tends to get me, the kind of changing directions Fox can do in midair. But speaking of laser bolts, it brings us back to our last OG beginner fighter, Pikachu. This popular Pokemon has become so famous that these days everyone knows his name, and that was in 1999. Pikachu's electricity attacks are a real shock to any opponent. Pikachu is fast and light, but weak.
Now, my good man, what do you like to play?
Pokemon!
Pokemon? Pokemon with the Pokey and the man in the thing where the guy comes out into the thing and he makes them fall off.
It damages its opponents using electric-based attacks like the Thunder Jolt, Quick Attack, and Thunder itself, all screamed at you threateningly in an adorable little Pikachu voice. Saffron City is his level, and it might be my favorite level. A stage where various Pokemon can emerge from the building in the middle, including, and I'm not good with my Pokemon names, Chansey, Charmander, Electrode, Porygon, and Venusaur. In the background, we've got Butterfree, Fearow, Moltres, and Pidgey can sometimes be seen. All these kind of pulling from your classic, your Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. And again, sorry, I don't know my Pokemon, but I am going to play the stage music, though, because anytime I hear it, I know it's Pokemon music, but it just makes me think of Smash 64. All right, good music there. If you decide to take on one-player mode, the game does throw some new mechanics at you for the fights, and you're going to want to run through this anyway if you're looking to fill your roster with the unlockable characters. So let's check out some highlights on the one-player action. You're just, you're going through your ladder. You're just going to fight every character with a few twists. At the beginning, stage 1, you fight Link, and, you're fighting all these people on their levels. So you fight Link at Hyrule Castle, because apparently Link is bottom tier. Next up, we got the 18 Yoshi fight. We're going to change all the colors of the Yoshi, just like Yoshi is wont to do. You're fighting those 3 at a time, and sacrificing Yoshis has never felt more satisfying. Stage 3 is Fox fighting that in Sector Z. Again, no barrel rolls needed there. Then we got some bonus stages. We got the break the targets. So we're going to break 10 targets. Next up, the brothers themselves, Mario and Luigi, are fought on Peach's castle, and then you get a random ally assigned to you. Stage 5, Pikachu is fought in Saffron City, sometimes with a cute little party hat. You can change some outfits. And then the cool thing is, so it's like it pulls into their games. You've got your different colored Yoshis. That makes sense. You've got Link in his different color shirts and stuff based on his, lava armor and water armor and different colors. You've got the Mario Brothers, and they'll change to their like Fire Flower, their white overalls, their old school stuff. I think that their fireballs might even change color with that. And then you come down to like Pikachu, and we're just putting hats on them. But anyway, that's cool. A little more customization with the character selection there. Next up, you're fighting giant Donkey Kong on Congo Jungle. You get a team there of 3, and that's one of those cool new mechanics. They just make Donkey Kong giant, which makes sense for Donkey Kong, and then the obstacle being, because they're big and weigh more, it's going to take a lot more to beat them up to where they fly off of the stage. Next up, another bonus, board the platforms, just 10 platforms within 2 minutes. Stage 7, another unique one. You're fighting the 8 Kirbys in Dreamland, but you're fighting each of those with the copy ability from everyone else in the game. Next up, Samus, you're a basic fight there, but then stage 9 is Metal Mario, fought on a cool little metal crystal level, and what a cool idea, again, for a fight that involves knocking people off a stage. Besides making them grow like Donkey Kong, you have a Metal Mario fight, and he is hard to knock off. He's stuck to that ground like Simon in Castlevania, like just lead feet. But that's a cool fight. Next up, your last bonus stage, Race to the Finish. And then your 2 final boss stages. You've got the fighting polygon fight, where you fight a bunch of Pepsi Man looking things. And the final stage, the Master Hand. That one's kind of your more video game boss fight, where you kind of learn his moves, avoid his moves, and take out the Master Hand themselves. Stick around for the credits too. They're kind of unique. You can kind of see what each developer did. They kind of fly by you like spaceship style. It's really cool. They did spell Charles Martinet's name wrong, but he's the voice of Mario and Luigi in this game and many years to come. Shout out to Charles Martinet. He's doing like a Nintendo ambassador thing now. So he's still doing cons. He's not doing the voices anymore. But I got my Mario 64 box copy signed by him at a con a few years ago. But that's the game there, the one player. Let's move into the last of our roster, these unlockable characters. We've got Luigi, our plumber from another mother. Uses very similar moves as Mario, but he uses stronger attacks, but Luigi is both slower and lighter. His fireballs move straight and do not bounce like Mario's, which I never noticed. So another thing, again, you play this game 1,000 times. I didn't know that. I didn't really play the two of them. I played Mario more. I never played Luigi, but again, just a weird thing that I'm like, yeah, that can make a pretty big difference, especially when I never paid attention to it, apparently. He is obtained once you break the targets with all the default characters. His moves being the Fireball, Super Jump Punch, and opposed to the Mario Tornado, we've got the Luigi Cyclone. And since Luigi is a VIP, he features a brand new, pretty dang good level, OG Mushroom Kingdom from the old school Mario. It's a large stage with gimmicks such as moving platforms and warp pipes. Also some Koopas hanging out in the background. You clear the one-player game with all the default characters and play each state in versus mode to access that new stage. But let's move on to Captain Falcon. Flying in from F-Zero, he's a heavyweight fighter, but he is still the fastest of them all. He is the closest we get to Pepsi Man. All of his special moves have a flame property with a great sound effect. Get him by clearing the one-player game in under 20 minutes. The Falcon Punch, the Falcon Dive, and Falcon Kick. I can hear them now. Yeah, it was always that Falcon Punch noise tended to be followed by like a game set or a KO sound, because that Falcon Punch is hardcore. And next up, let's break out the fart and burp jokes, because we got Ness from Earthbound. Earthbound is a must-play game. It's a freaking time capsule of the 90s. So it's so great to see him included in this game after Earthbound 64 never came to be. Ness is a fast and light character. Ness's basic attacks involve the use of a baseball bat and yo-yo. I'm telling you, go play Earthbound. I gotta stop. We're going to do Earthbound soon. And all of his special moves include the use of PSI, referring to psionics, the use of psychic abilities. Ness's moves include PK Fire, PK Thunder, and Psychic Magnet. And you clear the one-player game on normal difficulty with 3 stock. You add Ness to the roster. Saving the worst for last is the pink puffball nobody asked for, Jigglypuff. I actually think I've seen people rock Jigglypuff in some Smash tourneys, so I'm probably dumb. But Jigglypuff is both weak and a light fighter. It can multi-jump just like Kirby, and then randomly fall asleep like an old man in public. Lame moves like pound, sing, rest. Sounds like a simple life, I suppose. Just clear one-player game for the hell of it, and they'll throw Jigglypuff at you. Write me in. Tell me if Jigglypuff is any good. Nobody was playing Jigglypuff. I made a post asking everybody's main or character with hundreds of comments, and I think I saw one Jigglypuff on there. For that matter, a lot of people main, and we'll talk about it in some tournament stuff. We'll see. It's all about Kirby and Pikachu. I didn't see that coming. But that's it. All of our characters. Let's talk a little bit about the legacy. Smash Brothers received positive reviews, with most praise going to its multiplayer mode, while its single-player mode received some criticism. Probably like all the criticism, as it should, I guess. It's designed as a multiplayer game. Like all these games are like that. Smash, Mario Party, Mario Golf, tennis, like all these multiplayer games, they all suck as single-player. We all just kind of have to force our way through all the single player stuff to unlock all the characters and boards and levels in our multiplayer games that we want to play. It was also, of course, commercially successful. It quickly became a player's choice title. Smash Brothers is the 5th best-selling game for the 64, selling over 5.5 million copies worldwide. Before we wrap up the game chat, we have to talk about my favorite Smash players, and I'm talking about the humans, the competitors. Just like I respect the hell out of speedrunners, out of like modders, data miners, I have mad respect for the competitive gamers as well. Just masters of the craft. Let's check out these competitions Nintendo's lawyers love to shut down. Smash Brothers has always had a small niche competitive scene compared to like the future entries, but unlike those games, particularly Brawl and Smash 4, the scene has increased in popularity over the years rather than declining when the next entry comes out. So these Smash 64 tournaments are growing. While dedicated tournaments are still sparse, Smash 64 is more frequently becoming held as an event in major tournaments. The competitive scene is also kept alive with mods such as Smash Remix, which expands on the game's content while keeping core elements intact, including the love it or hate it N64 polygon art style. So I like seeing those mods. I like seeing them take even new characters like Animal Crossing, or adding these to then the 64 game. The community has constructed a set of standard tournament rules to regulate tournament play. While rule sets may vary between tournaments, generally universal gameplay rules include all matches being played via time stock and restrictions on legal stages. These regulations are enacted to ensure that gameplay at the highest level remains fair and interesting. So I've got some notes. First time I looked all this kind of stuff up, found it real interesting. Let's take a look at some of the rules on the 1v1 matches. They are only played on Dreamland, like the only neutral stage. That's where you're going to play. And although not required to be enforced, tournaments where all matches are on Dreamland will often set players as player 2 and player 4 to ensure neutral starting positions. So we're really getting the math down on this. The sets between players are played best 2 out of 3 in a double elimination. The banning of cargo stalling is up to the tournament organizer's discretion. What is cargo stalling, you ask? I had to look it up. It refers to specific techniques, mainly using Donkey Kong's unique cargo throw, where he lifts an opponent over his shoulder to either waste time, avoid conflict, or execute infinite combos. So they don't allow Donkey Kong to pick up. And I guess, yeah, you could kill time. You could wait for, I guess in my case, between Kirby and Donkey Kong, I'm either grabbing an opponent and I'm just carrying them off the ledge. Like, we're going out together. Each match is played, like I said, with stock and 4 lives. The timer is preferably set to 8 minutes. Items are turned off, and I get it because items make things so random. But I feel like, what are you doing? Like, Smash Brothers is the items, is the nonsense. But I guess when you want to be number one, you gotta do something like that. For the first match, characters are chosen double blind at the same time so that neither player knows their opponent's character beforehand. In practice, this rule is often ignored, but players always reserve the option to force a double blind pick. So I didn't know that as well. Like, I thought, I guess you go into these tournaments and you have to randomly play like an assigned character type of thing. Like, I thought you would go in and be able to go like as your main, but I guess that makes sense. Otherwise, everybody would do like this Pikachu thing or something. That gets more into these rules. The 2v2 gets a little different. I got some notes on that. So let's look at some of the 2v2 rules. Rules that apply to one-on-one, apply to team tournaments. Occasionally, other stages are legal in regionals, such as Final Destination. That's your final boss stage, and that's pretty much a Dreamland stage. So they're not doing stages like Saffron City or Samus or even, I guess, Hyrule. Anything that has a stage hazard they're not doing. I guess Dreamland has the win, though, but I guess that's minimal. Team attack, sometimes called friendly fire, is on. So watch out for attacking your opponent, or your teammate in that case. Players are allowed to steal lives from their teammates. Overclocked N64s are preferred, as otherwise there is lag in doubles. So that's interesting. Boost those, add a couple of FX chips in there. Just take them out of the Super Nintendo. Let's beef that thing up. And here we go. Due to Pikachu and Kirby's domination in doubles, occasionally there are character bans. And they have labels. They have nicknames for the bands of these teams. The formats are as follows. ZPK, that means zero Pikachu or Kirby in doubles, so you can do neither of those, is a format that bans the use of Pikachu or Kirby. You have SPK, meaning single Pikachu or Kirby. This is usually more common in international events, as many foreign players main Pikachu. This usually also results in Kirby being less common, as Pikachu is a much more common choice. Pikachu and Mario, or Pikachu with Luigi, as well as Mario/Luigi, has become the preferred team. And I've seen some of those battles. Like some of these people in some of the comments I talked to about this game, they're like, I won't let you breathe when I'm playing Luigi. And I'm like, I believe you. And although not required to be enforced, tournaments will often set teams as player 1 and player 4 versus player 2 and player 3 to balance out the effects of port priority. What is port priority, you asked? This is real interesting to me. I never knew this at all, and it just goes to show the coding, the data, the more smarter peoples in the world than me that figure these kind of things out. Anyway, port priority. For example, in the first 2 Smash games, if 2 players attempt to grab each other on the same frame in the game, the lower port always gets the grab. This is the case no matter what kind of grab it is, as long as the 2 players are grabbing each other on the same frame. So if you are player 1 and player 2 and you each grab each other, player 1 is always going to win. They're always going to get the grab, literally in the same frame if you guys do that. So they switch the characters up so that in the team, you get it, in like the team way, there's going to be one person on each team that's overpowered, as opposed to player 1 and 2 being on a team and always winning their throws against players 3 and 4. So mad respect to all you hardcore gamers. We'll keep it going as we hear from some of you with some comments and some awards. Let's do it.
Aren't you a little old for video games?
That man is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
Let's do all the things that you want to do. Throw me a frickin' bone here. I'm the boss. Need the info.
I've lived in mortal terror that this would happen.
Get on with the ceremony.
Okay. The question being offered here is simple. Is Smash Bros. 64 worth a try today? Systems Offline says Smash 64 is definitely a very good game. However, if you have zero nostalgia for it, aren't a collector, and you have zero interest in playing it competitively, I don't see too much of a point in owning it. The game's very, very good and the mechanics are really solid, but I don't know if it's really worth your time anymore with all the other Smash games. Those new Smash games are insane. I played them a couple times. I know just even going up to Melee on the GameCube, you start adding in things like throwing in different directions. There's a lot of grabbing in different directions on top of the roster they keep adding. And especially if you're talking one player, it's a hard game to go back to without nostalgia. All these games are, I suppose. Asha Lou here says, I loved it back when it was the only Smash game. Still remember the magical experience of playing it for the first time after my friend rented it from the video store. But I don't think I could ever go back. The graphics haven't aged well. The sound effects are god-awful. And if you only want to play casual items on stuff with friends, the latter games all pretty much do the same stuff better. It's a pretty frustrating gaming experience experience competitively too. The sheer amount of 0 to death combos seems to turn each match into endless camping, and the Dreamland song will eventually have you begging for the sweet release of death. So you sound like you've done some tournament stuff. That's another reference to Dreamland being the only level they compete on. You said the sound effects are god-awful, to each their own on the goofy, weird, cartoony sounds. But just another comment. I mean, it's almost like people are kind of like, don't look at me, but I do love this game. Like in the comments, this is one of the harder ones to, this isn't your Ocarina of Time. This isn't your Mario 64 to like nostalgically go back to when you have Smash Ultimate right now that is a great game that does everything this game does better. You can play it online. More people, there's more variety. So it is hard to say to go back to this one besides just going back to see where it started. Jeff K here says, there's a certain charm to it because of its visuals and sound design. In my opinion, Kirby, Pikachu, and Ness have their best voice acting in a Smash Brothers game. It oozes 90 flavor as well as a lack of pretension that I really appreciate. And mechanics-wise, it just seems to go with the N64 controller perfectly. And I didn't even talk about the old 64 controller. That's the way to play this game. That's the way I play any 64 game because it's just how it's meant to be, people. Especially here with your jump, just all your C buttons are jump. It just works really good. Your B and A is right there. The other thing Jeff mentions, this the 90s flavor of it and the lack of pretension. I don't know that I guess there's something to be said about the first game in a series not having a history, not having anything to live up to. There's no expectations on it. So it was just a fun idea that someone tried that happened to take off. And yeah, they've made better games since then. But again, when you're talking just Smash 64, are we still playing this game today? Jackson H says, I always like the 64 one stylistically the best. The colorful comic book inspired art style really brought the whole game to life. With the cartoonish sound effects, my opinion, still the best sound design in a Smash Brothers game. And simplistic game design, something has been lost in each successive Smash game. Wii U was the closest to the original concept, but even then it didn't go all the way like the N64 version did. So you're the opposite there. You like the sound effects. And I think I'm more with your comment here than the ones above it as far as the cartooniness of it, the art of it, the simplicity of it. I can play this with my kids, even my younger ones when they were younger. I could play this with them. I'm going to destroy them because I don't hold back on my kids when I play Nintendo, but they can pick it up and they can play it. And like we were saying with the being the first of the game too, with the no expectations, let's just make something that's fun. And just like the guy said when he envisioned this playing in the arcade, like, let's make something fun that everybody can play and see where it goes. And here we are literally decades later, and you can see where this has gone. The Manus Approves says, absolutely, it's a great game. If you have an EverDrive, get the Smash Remix mod. It's the best ROM hack I've ever played. Tons of new characters and stages, and they actually feel like they fit in the game and aren't broken. So we talked a little bit about those ROM hacks, those mods. I don't have an EverDrive. I don't have, what's the other one, like a Summer Cart. There's a lot of them out there, and it's not just your 30-in-1 old crazy ripoff Chinese hack carts that list 500 games, and there's like 3 of them that are playable, and it's some weird plumber jumper game or something that's not even what they're showing. Anyway, but the real carts that have all these games downloaded, because I'm real big on paying developers for games as far as not emulating things, but there becomes a cutoff point. If you're emulating Switch games, then you're a jerk. But I've mentioned it before, if you're just trying to, they don't have these games accessible anywhere else. You can go buy Smash Brothers on eBay. No developers are seeing that money. So it's like, go emulate it. And in this case, if you've got fans of games making sweet ROMs, making sweet additions, adding love to games that they love, they're not doing it for money. This is all fan stuff. I want to try some of these mods. Like I've said before, I want to try that. There's a Ocarina of Time sequel out there somewhere. I've always seen the stuff on the Smash 64 remix, just because they add all these characters, same 64 style, same character selection screen. So I am going to look into that as far as getting something for my dusty old 64. She's sitting right next to me. That's my childhood 64. The reset button has been stuck down for 20 years, but she still works fine. Last comment from Region Fury simply says, if you have friends or family. That's it as far as, is this game worth a try? And sadly it's true, but don't despair, listeners, because as much as I miss couch co-op and I hate the internet, there is good yet to be had. Online gaming nowadays means you're never alone. And as much as, sure, the internet gaming scene can be rough, but there are friends to be had out there. There's memories to be made. So not a lot of love coming out for, out of the comments for this game in particular, as far as going back and playing it. But we'll see if we can salvage this comment section. And let's take a look at some of my awards themselves. First award here is going to be the Cake is a Lie award. That's going to go to my worst item in the game. We'll go down. We got a couple of shout outs. I'm going to say the Pokeball, which I actually love the randomness of the Pokeball. It's hard for strategy, but my strategy is mostly to cause as much chaos as possible. So I like the Pokeball. I just know every time it just ends up being that fish, the Goldeen or whatever, flopping around. Always look like a piece of bacon. Anyway, next up, the Star Rod. It's lame. It's okay, but I would usually just pick it up. I'm not shooting stars. That was one of mine. I'm picking it up and I'm just chucking it at somebody. Coming in above that is Maxim Tomato, because who cares about health? A strong offense is a good defense, right? It's something like that. I just know I was never looking at health items. There was only... I could have easily done, top 3 favorite items, but I'm trying to critique it a little bit as far as items I'd avoid. But the cool part about that was the items I'd avoid, I didn't want. I would just throw them at people, which brings me to my number 1 most hated item in the game, and it's going to be the fan. Leave the fans for Katana. Give me that home run bat. I wasn't doing anything. Yeah, it's quick. But yep, I'm just chucking that thing everywhere. Award number 2, the Geno Should Be in Smash Brothers award. That's going to go to my favorite characters to play or fight against. I've talked about it a lot already this episode. But Fox, that fast, sneaky little Fox, he was, and this is playing against. I would play against Fox a lot. The Reflector would always get me, and that up B or triple jump would always get me. And this was mainly... just playing against friends who would, they would main as Fox. I was playing against Fox a lot, playing against Samus, playing against Mario, against Kirby, and then I was always kind of playing my 2 characters we'll get to. But we got Fox again. Next up, Samus. That is my arch nemesis. She's got that charge up shot, which is you always think you see him charging for 10 seconds, or her. And you're they'll never, you think you can avoid this big, same with Donkey Kong's punch. I'm always I can avoid these big charge up shots, and then sometimes they'll get me out of nowhere. And then the down B on Samus, the little bomb dropping things are just not big damage, but annoying because they would block something I might have been charging up. But we'll go to number 2. My second guy to play as the most was Mario. And again, his spin moves, he's got that feet kick up into the air thing. So you do that, and then you do your tornado down, and you're just holding them in air. They're just staying in one spot. But my favorite character to play, I've already said it, it's going to be Link. It's going to be Link. Even when I play Melee, I play Young Link. I like the small little fast Link. And I am just sword forward, sword. It's the run, sword forward. It's all sword. Sword up, sword down. Rockin' Link, throwing bombs when I just to be annoying when I can. But the triple jump's real good too. You'll take out someone if they're camping you on the edge there. Let's go into the final award. It's the No Odd Job Award. Just the best kind of multiplayer experience about this game, about multiplayer games. I didn't mention it a lot, but there's the teams. So it was cool to team up red, blue, green, you change your color, kind of makes handicaps. It's the kind of thing where we would team up, where it'd be like I'd be solo, my friend who played good would be solo, and then 2 weaker players would team up together. Those kind of things to add some handicaps to the game and stuff. It was real cool to play, like the brackets, the competitions, the endless parties, the fighting all night, your overnight parties, like the birthday parties even back then. Just, again, Mountain Dew and pizza and video games, and everyone's just passing out. You got someone on the floor, and they're covering themselves up with one of the couch cushions. They fell asleep. They're over there. Just those kind of nights. But the best thing about playing multiplayer with this game itself is just playing with friends in the same room. You'll get an award, because it doesn't happen anymore. Not for folks my age. As much as I play video games still, I can't go back. My friends I never see my friends. Being old sucks. But again, keep that family couch co-op alive. We haven't done it in a while. I gotta get. My wife wanted to recently. We gotta get a game of Mario Party in and just joke around a little bit. But we'll move on to some ratings here. We'll determine if this game rules, if it's a rental, or if it should be retired. We'll talk for real quick: gameplay, visuals, music and sound, and awesomeness. Out of 10. I was kind of bouncing around with these numbers. I'm going to give gameplay an 8 out of 10. You did so much to create your own genre of fighting games. It's just, it's insane what those guys are doing, those Nintendo developers over there, just coming up with these ideas. But it is really only fun with other people. The simple moves are great. You get points for that. Even having simple moves still makes for a complex gameplay itself. So an 8 out of 10 there. Visuals, I'll give you an 8 out of 10. It is the 64 we're talking about. Polygons are rocking hard. But I love a good crossover, and everyone looks good. No one looks out of place coming from all these different games. They all look good together. Obviously, Kirby's not to scale, or he'd be the size of a soccer ball. And also, as far as the graphics themselves, they did real good with the backgrounds. I think they were limited in the backgrounds and the stages themselves to like 200 polygons. And so if you look hard, you can see that. You can see things aren't... It gives this effect of 3D. Even like the pictures in the back on like Sector Z and Star Fox, look 3D, but they are a single sheet. I don't know if that's considered one polygon side or what. And that's kind of how the 64 worked. They just pulled it off really good here. They had good, I guess, texturing, wallpaper essentially to put on these polygons to make things look 3D when it's not. So you'll get an 8 out of 10 on visuals. Music and sound, 9 out of 10, like all my favorite Nintendo tunes, like in one game, all these levels, like it is just, it's just so much in my brain. I love it. I can't wait for you got Sonic, you got Mega Man, you got all these guys coming into the game eventually with stages, with music, down the line. But our last one here, awesomeness, 9 out of 10. It is just the epitome of multiplayer gaming. I say it, we can't go back to that time, but what a perfect time in society to have a 4-controller video game. And even a lot of you, younger kids, maybe this is your first system. I know a lot of people, it's the 64 is their first system. I hope you guys were having crazy fun as 5 and 6 year olds playing with 4 controllers, not knowing what you're doing, but you got joysticks, you're moving all over the place. It must have been a blast. The first game you played has this 3D joystick type of thing, whereas we grew up with our brick pads and our D-pads and things. But anyway, let's add all those up and see what kind of rating we're going to give this game. She is going to slide on down that return slot and land right in the rental bin. If you've never played it, you really should check it out. I mean, it gets a high score. It's like a 8.5 out of 10. But when we're talking about playing it, like I said, you should see where it came from. I took a run through, recently. I turned all my opponents up on some Versed mode as hard as they can. And it's still just not the same as playing with friends. I took a run through one player mode. It took like 10 minutes. I wish you could play. I mean, even if you could play this one online like you can other ones, it's always, you can't go back. But give it a try for sure. It just sucks that it's just a single player game nowadays. There's better Smash Brothers out there, but it is a testament to the greatness of this game that like the mods are still out there, still being played. Tournaments are going. You online can't compare to couch co-op, but it's not gone forever. You can bring it back with your family. Some of the, like I've said, some of the Mario parties with my wife and kids are like some of my like favorite memories ever. Like I never thought I would laugh so much playing like games with my family like I did when we were like kids and teenagers, just cracking up. So great memories there. But that's going to be it for this week. We're going to wrap it up. I want to thank you guys for listening to the show. I appreciate it so much. Send me messages, thatgamerules@gmail.com, and follow me on those things if you want to actually view how bad at gaming I am. I'm posting silly clips over there all the time. And, we managed to smash our way into the new year. I'm going to keep plugging away at these old games. I hope you guys can find some couch co-op in your life and join me for next week's retro adventure. I'm out of here, and I will see you on the next one.